Okay, hi everyone. Today I'm gonna talk about the Selenium. So it is just an introduction for Selenium. So before going to automation testing and knowing about Selenium, let us know what is software testing. Yes, sir. My laptop is not working. So
Yeah, because the screen is coming very small, right? It's difficult to record.
oh, okay.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
My laptop.
It's okay. Go ahead for now.
Okay. So my topic is on Selenium. So it is just an introduction about Selenium. So before going to automation testing, let us know what is software testing. We already know what is software testing means. So software testing is the process of finding the bugs or finding the defects in our software. So, what is the main goal of software testing? So, the main goal of software testing is to find or identify the bugs, and also we need to release the quality product to the customer or client. So, that is the goal. So, the main objective or the goal of the software testing is this. But in which way we can test the software? So there are different ways that we can do. One is manual testing and automation testing. So these are the two types of testing. So what is the difference? So what is manual testing and what is an automation testing? So manual testing means we don't use any tools. We can simply test the software manually. So since we don't use any tools, we simply call it as manual testing. And if I have to use any automation tools, that is using any automation tools, if we perform any testing, we call it as an automation testing. So these are the two approaches we will have. Either we can do manual testing or we can do automation testing. So in manual testing, tester or a person will do the testing, and we don't use any tools. But while performing manual testing, we have certain challenges. So to overcome those challenges, automation tools come into market. I mean, it came into the market. But why do we need to go to automation testing when we have manual testing? So, to overcome these certain challenges, first let us understand what are those challenges while performing manual testing, and then we will try to understand about automation testing. So, uh, I can say automation testing, it is the testing that will be done with the help of tools, and that is known as automation testing. So let us see what are the challenges in manual testing. There are actually two types of challenges that are majorly there. One is retesting and regression testing. So what is retesting? As the word itself says, retesting means we are testing again and again, and we will conduct the testing we will be testing it repetition mode. So everything we will try to do it again and again. Same test we will execute multiple times, which is basically called as retesting. So for example, let me take a login page. We can just imagine a login page screen to test. So to test a login screen, only with valid user and valid password is enough. Is it enough? No. So we need to also perform negative testing, not just the positive testing. That means what? When you provide valid username and valid password, the login should be successful. And same way, if you provide invalid user and invalid password, the login should not be successful. So that is not just enough for a testing as a test engineer or the testing people. So we need to test the same login screen with different types of inputs like we write the test cases and test scenario like valid username and valid password, then we have to verify with valid username and invalid password, then we have to verify with invalid username and valid password, and we have to also verify and check whether it works with blank username and blank password, and so on with different combination of data we have to use while performing the testing. So what exactly we are doing there? We are executing the same test case or same steps multiple times with different sets of data, which is basically called retesting. So executing the same test cases again and again multiple times in multiple cycles. So which is basically called a retesting. But What is the challenge while performing retesting? Here we have to spend a lot of time and efforts. So if we want to do the same task multiple times again and again, it takes lots of time, and also we need to put lot of efforts in every cycle of execution. So this is time consuming process. So this is the major challenge while performing the retesting, and we cannot skip this retesting. Sometimes we have to do, sometimes which is very important in the manual testing. And the second thing is regression testing, which is also most important. So let us know what is regression testing, which is most important. So we all know that an application will not be built completely at a shot, right? So as a developer, the process will be like, first the developer will build one piece of application. If there are 10 features, he has to build one features, and he will name it as module or build one, which is basically a customer's requirement which they tell us. So he will develop one module to us, and he will give it to the tester. So as a tester, what they do, they do the testing process. Let me show that. So here the developer is building, he builds and provides build one to the testing team. And then in that build one, let's say the testers, they have executed or written 10 test cases and planned for the testing in cycle one. So now what happens, let's say in this 10 test cases, we have executed 8 and it got passed, and in the last 2 it got failed. So as a tester, what we do next, we will raise the bug, and we will report to the developer and send to the developer to fix the bug. So now the developer will provide us by building the bug, and he will give us with new and bugs fixing. Bug fixing. That means so when the one build is done, the client might have some new
Yeah,
requirement as well.
actually,
Yes, sir.
actually,
Yes, sir.
whatever you are explaining, right? So these all are relevant for Selenium because these are just the basics for the testing. What is manual testing, automation testing, and flow of testing and all, right? So you can directly
Yes,
go
sir.
with Selenium. What are the features of Selenium? What is Selenium? How you will write Selenium test cases? So and implement a simple test case because these things are already done. You have done all the other people also
Okay.
have done it.
Okay.
So do you have what is Selenium? What are the features of Selenium? What is web driver? Those kind of thing.
Yes, sir. That was my next. After this automation testing, that I will be telling.
So these points you can skip quickly because these are already done. Okay? These are not
Okay, sir.
practically part of Selenium.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is how it takes place. So to overcome these challenges, automation testing was done. So let me just get into what is automation testing. For performing automation testing, uh, and how to overcome this, and how automation tool works and all. For this, we all required programming and automation tool. So let me get into what is Selenium now. So Selenium is basically a web automation tool, and it is nothing. A tool is nothing but a single component. So we can just download, install, and we can use it. Basically, it is called as a tool. But in reality, Selenium is not a tool. Actually, it's a collection of multiple components or collections of multiple libraries. But generally, we call it as a tool. So it is web-based automation tools or library. And what does this mean? And why we are, specifically saying web-based automation tool or library? That means Selenium supports only web-based application and test only web application. So before getting into next, it is about open source. Uh, let us know a little bit about the different types of applications, so that it will be easy to understand why we call it as web application. So there are three types of application, that is web application, desktop application, and mobile application. So web application, as the word says, we can access those applications through browser. So nowadays, whatever application we are accessing through browser, all are called web-based applications. So examples are like e-commerce portals, banking application, social application, Facebook. So these all comes under the web application. So for this, we need the internet connection. Whereas in a desktop application, here we can just download and install in your local system and use it. So there is no need of internet for them to be used. For example, Notepad, PowerPoint, MS Word, Excel calculator. So all this comes under desktop because you can just download the application, install it, and use it in your system without any internet. And then it is mobile application. So nowadays these applications are very famous. So examples are like WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and these all these are used in our mobiles through Play Stores or through Apple Stores, which we can just download the app and we can install it and we can start using it. So these are the three types of application currently which we have in market. And this and when we come to Selenium, Selenium supports only web-based application, and it is designed only for the web-based application and not for anything else. So we cannot test like a desktop application, or we cannot test the mobile application. So it is an open source. That means anybody can customize the code, anybody can add new features, and Selenium is free of cost, and we don't need to have any license, or we don't need to pay anything for this. We can just download and download the library and do some configuration and start using it. So Selenium is a collection of multiple components. So as I said in the beginning, Selenium is not a single tool. It's actually a collection of multiple components, which is having IDE, WebDriver, and grid. So let me come what it is in next one. So IDE, WebDriver, and grid. So these three components are collectively, we called it in the Selenium. So these are used for the automation, and we use majoritarily the WebDriver. So every component is having their own usage, like ID for recorded and playbacks, and WebDriver for automation, and grid for execution. So later we can discuss this in detail. So let me now tell about the advantages of Selenium. So first it is about open source and tool and free. Open source, tool and free. That means here anybody can do the modification in the tool itself. And if you want to add some more features, you can download it and install the library and do so. So it is easily customizable, and moreover it is free. So next is multiple operating system, supports multiple browser, and supports multiple language. So these 3 points are very more advantage for us in Selenium, because most of the the automation tools might not support multiple operating system or multiple browser or multiple languages, but Selenium, it supports multiple operating system, because we can use Windows, Linux, or any operating system, and you can just configure the Selenium and use it in multiple browser. For example, let me say when we do a web testing or a web application testing as a part of our requirement, we should execute our test cases on multiple browsers. So, like example, in Chrome, Firefox, then Edge browser, Opera browser, Safari browser, and so on, whatever it is available. So we have to be able to test those, and it has to be executed in those browsers. So this is called like the cross browser testing, because we don't know exactly which browser the client will use, and sometimes the client might use it in Chrome, Firefox, or anything which he or she might be liking. So the application should be able to without any UI issue, it has to be able to display on this browser. So that's why it is supporting multiple browser, and this is basically called the cross browser testing. Next is support multiple languages. That means it supports here Java, Python, C++, Ruby, Java, etc. That means Here, at least one language we have to know as a test engineer to understand it and write the test scripts. And next, we have integrate third-party tools into Selenium. So this means that sometimes Selenium is not provided certain features. For example, whenever we want to work with Excel sheet or some database Selenium or some uh, reporting sheets. Selenium doesn't support that because Selenium is only for web-based application and it cannot automate web applications. And it does not support anything else also. But still, if you want to work with Excel sheet or with some database, we can integrate them with some third-party tools. So that is the facility which we will have in Selenium. So integration of third-party tool in Selenium is also possible. So that is the advantage. So let us go into disadvantage or the limitations of Selenium. So first thing is it cannot support window-based application. So as this was already discussed, Selenium is only for web-based application. So it will not support for window-based application at all. And how can we overcome this? Suppose if you still want to automate Windows sometimes, especially when we are downloading or uploading some files. So those scenario we actually want to deal with that using the desktop application along with some web application. So we can overcome them by integrating the third party tools. So those are like AutoIt, Securely, Robot API. So these are the tools that we will be using as a third party. And so even though Selenium is having disadvantage, it is it has been overcome by these tools. So then we have reporting not supported. So this is also one disadvantage which is Selenium having it. But this also can be again overcome by an integrating by a third party tool, which is by TestNG extend report. So about this detail, I'll be doing in the next demo. And then we have it cannot support Excel files. So as I said again, but this also it can be overcome by integrating Apache Po with Selenium. It is also a tool. And then we have graphs or capture. So Selenium will not support this graphical things and capture, and it will also not recommend to automate because graphics are more dynamic in nature, and also based on the data the graph might be keep changing and capturing, especially for the security reasons, so we cannot break them. So uh, there is nothing that we can help with that. So these are the disadvantages or limitation in Selenium, but it has more advantage because whatever the disadvantages or limitation it is having, it has been already overcome by integrating by third party tool. So let us know about Selenium version. So this is most important with Selenium and how it actually came. So without knowing this, we cannot, do some Selenium testing or use the tools. So first is Selenium 1.x, Selenium 2.x. So what actually it means um, Selenium started from 1.x. That means it's having only three components. So initially it had three components, that is Selenium ID, then it had RC and grid. So ID is only for Firefox browser and it is for record and playback. That means we can record all the action. It will automatically generate some piece of code, and when you execute that code, it will replay it. And what is RC? RC is a remote control, and through RC you can be able to automate web applications. So in Grid, it is used for execution. So Selenium, after this, next was the Selenium 2.x version, and on this it was IDE, Firefox, WebDriver, and Grid. So here it was still continued on Firefox, and RC was replaced with the WebDriver component. So WebDriver component it is now which is still used, and now Selenium 3.x onwards, IDE was also implemented for Chrome browser and web drivers, and Grid was also still continued with some new features. So here in third version we had Firefox, along with that we had Chrome. So in fourth we had same features, but we also got the Edge browser being implemented. So this was the things, and in Selenium 4.14, this is the uh, latest version, which is having with same as the Selenium 4.8. So this is the latest version. So let me just tell one piece of information here. In Selenium testing, we actually do how means. Let me just show this picture so that it will be easy to understand. So in Selenium testing, let me just come back to manual testing first. In manual testing, we write the test cases and do the test. So in automation testing, what we actually do is we use the tools, that is the Selenium, and there instead of writing this test cases, we do it as test script here. So which is actually written in the languages. So the languages can be Java, Python, or JavaScript, or Ruby. So whatever languages, any, but in Selenium it is only one language that is being used for one project entirely. So languages cannot be changed. So one language for one project. So test cases here in test cases, which is in manual testing, and in automation testing, it is called test script, which is the language understood by the tools, and that tools will be, testing the test scripts. So this is how it actually works. So now let me just tell how it actually works. So it's just an example. So it is actually designed for overcoming those two challenges which I told, for retesting and regression testing. So in Selenium, what actually it might do is, let's say we have retest case and I have multiple step in my test cases, and I want to execute the same steps multiple times with different sets of data. So in the data, you can see I have 1, 2, 3, and up to 100. Maybe we can keep a complex data we are having, and let's say we have the test script also written as a steps. So now I want to repeat the same step with different sets of data. So that is from 1 to 100. Those are the test data. So I will specify test data in some external file. So it can be notepad or Excel file. So that will maintain the data. So we will write on some automation script, that and automation script for all these steps, and this automation step will reach each and every input and perform actions automatically, and then the same step will be repeated by the tool. So this will perform the action. So cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, which you can see in next one. So let's say first cycle of testing, you have executed 10 test scripts, and 8 got passed and 10 got failed. So we will raise the bug to the developer, and they will again give us the new build. So what we do again in the in automation testing is, we will the 10 test script which we have already did, in 8 was successfully passed, 2 was failed. So what we do, that 8 passed one, we make it as automated, and the 2 we keep it aside and send to the developer to develop it. So in cycle 2, when the build is given, what we do, we keep that 8 one which was already tested as an automated, and the 2 we do it, try to do it manually and check, and then we try to, once this all the remaining also remaining 2 and 8 one and the 8, we try to automate it together. So in cycle 2, whatever is failed, you will test them manually. And because of these two changes, maybe the rest of the functionality is impacted. So these 8 test cases, again, we have to execute because changes have happened. And what happens? The existing may not work properly because the changes, maybe new features might be added, or something, it might be disturbed by the code. So again, what we have to do is, this 8 test cases you have to execute in second cycle. So in automation testing, it's very easy. And using the Selenium tool, what we do, the automated tool which we have, this 8 test scripts in the first cycle itself. In the second cycle, we will execute them easily through automation. So this is how it works. In that way, we can reduce the time efforts also. And in the second cycle, let's say this 2 test cases, once it is passed, then we will also, what we do, we try to make this 2 test cases also automate. So in cycle 2, this 10 also it will be automated, and we try to automate with different test data. So conclusion for now it is manual and automation testing each have its own strength and weakness. No matter how great automated tests are, but still you can automate. You cannot automate everything. So manual testing also is required. So for Selenium testing, for Selenium, your success in automation test requires careful planning and design work for this. That's it. Thank you. Any questions?
From my end, no question.
Okay.
Yeah, no question from anybody.
No question from my side.
But yeah, it is good presentation. And more. Now, what is the next step? We are going to have the sample testing, right, of any page.
Uh, Now sample testing no sir, because still my laptop is it I have given for service.
Okay.
So still my laptop comes, I'll be just learning things
Mhm.
like the theory part. I'll be learning. Sir.
Okay. So continue with other theories like WebDriver and each feature, how you can implement, what are the things, steps, techniques, and all. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
what about your experience in Java?
Uh, I'm really bad in coding, sir.
But
So
that is must, no, for
yeah, so that's why I'm gonna start it. I have little knowledge with Python. So
okay. So how you are planning to
so
manage for Selenium coding?
actually I did Selenium. One testing for automations the last time. So that was actually easy. So let me try once again once I finish this theory part. So I will try with Java. If I learn, I will do it. So
Yeah, I mean Java you have to learn. Right? Basics of Java is
yeah,
mandatory. Without that, you cannot do
yes, sir.
automation. So any one language is mandatory for doing automation. So whether it is a DevOps, so DevOps guys needs to know basics of all languages actually. Okay. That is why DevOps guys are
Okay.
paid more. Hmm. For QA, at least one language you have to know basics.
Yes, sir.
Just understand
Yes,
the
sir.
difference, right? So if you are going for JavaScript, then you have to know JavaScript. There are testing framework which you can do in JavaScript, but your job will be restricted with that, right? Everybody may not need Selenium. Everybody may not need Cypress, which can be written in JavaScript, right? So that is why
Okay.
you have to master on one programming language.
Okay, sir.
Okay, good.
So Python or Java, sir? Like
Yes,
which
Selenium,
one?
do it using Java. That will be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right. Who is sharing now?
I'm sure it's on.